So, as mountain bikers, we all know that sometimes OTB just happens. Sometimes we know why, sometimes we don't. This is a case of not knowing how we went OTB, but it happened. And it happened on an interview that was really awesome with Jody and Misha from Build Tune Ride. No idea. I can give you 1,000 explanations. And I'm sure, on me owning a video production company agency, it's worse when it doesn't work, but it does happen from time to time. And in this case, unfortunately, it was with them. So the following episode is being aired with the only audio that worked, which happened to be a camera. So it's a little tough to hear. So the volume is low in this beginning so that you can kind of set it and forget it in case you're at the gym or wherever else. And this is going to be the podcast. It is what it is. OTB happens. You got to just get up and keep riding. Hopefully we'll have them on the show. Maybe we'll do something from up there and, it'll be an improved process. But here's that interview. And again, apologies for the OTB. It happens. Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a way. Yeah. You know I be on the way. Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on the way. What's up, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ride the Rebellion podcast. With me today, there's no reveal.
It's me.
It's that guy, Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd Sports Management. And
it's a lot cooler when you have the cut to me.
Did you say Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd's Forest Management?
Forest.
Yeah, he's a forest manager.
Forest a lot of things.
So we're back in the studio, not where it all began, because we'll never go back to that place. Lord knows we can never go back.
No, I'm not going back. Hey,
that's a political statement in today's day and age.
We've also we're moving forward.
Yep.
We also recorded this podcast in a lot of buildings and places. Once was a closet. Just in case if you guys didn't know. You can go back. Actually, you can't look because we don't think we have video then.
No, we definitely didn't have video back then.
We did record in a closet.
It was true.
We've since come out of that closet into bigger and better things.
That's it. And with this, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tee up the date. So we're back. We have two people that we get to have a conversation with. Anytime you say anything now, because of the political climate, I was going to be like, two wonderful people. They're wonderful.
They're great.
They're great. Some of the best people. And that's not what I mean, literally, they are all of those things. But if you say any of those words, kind of like huge is no longer going to be, if your voice breaks like mine did, it's perfect. But if you say huge any other way, you're kind of effed.
You got to say it like huge.
Huge.
Like the New Yorkers.
Yeah, like the New Yorkers. Anyway, so yes, they're a sponsor of the show, but today they're in town, and we thought it would be interesting to have a conversation because we've bragged about Jody a lot, a little bit about Mish. We've talked a lot about Jody and how he's a shock whiz and all this magical stuff. But what we have not done is actually ever talk about their story. I think it's pretty fascinating. I don't even know it. I just know that anyone that opens a small business and takes a risk is fascinating to me, as
especially
you guys know.
In the barren wasteland of eclectic Alabama.
It's
quality.
Forest managers, friends.
Yeah, forest managers. That's right.
He's in, if y'all didn't know, he's in BFE.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very far.
It's pushed out there, but we want to talk about some of that. So anyway, welcome Jody Clements and Misha Moore. But she says we can call her Mish. This is Mish, in case you guys don't know her. There she is. And there's Jody. There it is. Because the show has no rules, we just kind of go as where we go. I would be curious just to start off, and I'll ask both of you to answer this. We'll start with Mish. What got you into riding?
I started about 12 years ago. My best friend got me on a bike, Huffy, from
the old Wally World. Oh, an Academy one.
Yeah.
Solid.
I back for the first time, and since then.
But But there's got to be more than that. Like,
story.
Well, I mean,
always on a bike as a kid.
Okay.
Always on a bike in the neighborhood. Had the kids, came off the bike, and just got into mountain biking. So.
Did you grow up an athlete at all, or is it just it was recreation?
Biking. It was soccer. Wasn't sports, but never biking. We didn't have anything here in Mobile. I'm from Mobile.
Yeah.
So I just had backyard riding. That's all. And then hit the trail and started learning it 12 years ago.
You guys should have built a rebellion back then.
I know, right?
We should have franchised it. So then we'll go to Jody with a lot more history on bikes. Jody, where does this come from? I don't want to talk about the shop yet. I just want to go pre-shop. Where are you in the pre-shop side of things?
The bikes, the first big Christmas present I ever got. I grew up super poor, so I got this. I was like 5, got a bike. Still remember it like the best present ever. Been on them ever since, and did BMX, regular bikes. Of course, taking BMX bikes through the woods wasn't such thing as mountain biking. It was just being a stupid kid, right? Chasing them down the hill, your chain break, you can still go down the hill, right? Crashing through the creek, and just kept riding, skating, a lot of skateboarding. BMX, skating, and then in 2012, like my backyard, I was 35, I think, 34. My backyard had kids. My backyard looked like X Games, had fun boxes, half pipes, rails, all this stuff, and never wore a helmet in my life. And I was like, I'm going to kill my kid. I'm going to kill Hunter, my son. I told my wife, I'm going to do something safer. So I started tearing all that down with the Academy and bought the baddest 26-inch mountain bike you've ever seen. Had this little egg thing on it, and it showed me how far I went. I was like, all right, life's over. That's what I'm going to do. Then me and Hunter started chasing down power lines and stuff, and we're like, man, that's cool. And YouTube comes out, and I see it, and I'm like, man, you can kill yourself on this bike. And I ride a mountain bike.
So where did the propensity for this come from? I mean, obviously, I think all of us, something drew us to it, but then once you start riding, what keeps you guys, I mean, either way, what keeps you on the bike? Because it realistically, and I mean nothing rude about this, but none of us are spring chickens.
Yeah.
Right? None of us in this room are spring chickens. I'm not saying any of us are old, right? But we're all past, let's say, 25. In Mish's case, maybe she's a little under, but the rest of us are past 25, right? So the reality is, what keeps you on a bike day in and day out? Because I know, like for me, there's days like I rode yesterday. It was leg day yesterday, and then I rode like yesterday afternoon. I can't do squat today. I can't do squats either today, but I am not getting on a bike.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gassed out just because I hurt as I'm a little bit old. But what keeps you going back, like going through the process? What keeps you guys on the bike?
She can go first.
Man,
Aside from paycheck, because I mean,
it's just.
Do we get paycheck?
Careful. Listen, experience tells me every time I make a joke about paychecks on this podcast, it bites me in the ass later. So I had to buy Justine a bike. It was a whole thing.
Like, where's my paycheck?
Yes, exactly.
I'm not recording. Promise me a damn paycheck.
I'm just going to say, I've always loved being in the woods. So hiking I used to do that a lot, but the biking is just next level. I just love biking, learning new stuff, pushing myself. And my favorite part probably is just the community. Trips, like group rides, just that camaraderie.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think we've obviously talked about that too.
I think that we like you listen to us and you hear what we say, but I think that one thing that keeps you biking more than a lot, you maintain a lot of trails yourself and like work on trails a lot, right? Mm-hmm. So the funny thing was today, like the first thing she said, she's like, "Do you have any pictures of like new stuff you guys have built?" Because like that's what she's excited about.
Why don't you just go out there? I'll walk the Rebellion with you, but I sure as hell ain't riding the Rebellion today.
We rode a few weeks ago.
Did you?
There?
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Was I?
Drew was like, did you? Like, yeah, you led us the whole day.
Yeah, we.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, there must have been a lot of that delta. No. Keeping control. All right, what about you, Jody? What keeps you on a bike?
I tell everybody now, I'm still the old guy that at nighttime goes to sleep, daydreaming about the next bike I'm building, the coolest bike, having fun on a bike, building things, seeing things. It's just it's an internal drive that I want to do it. And I surround myself with my team, people like you guys. It pushes you to keep going. I'll be on a bike the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean,
It'll be three-wheel.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a 3-wheel scooter in Walmart raising hell, but I will be on it.
That's fantastic. That's my new favorite quote. Did you have something to say?
Mm-hmm.
No. You sure?
I just called him Papa.
Oh, Papa on the bike. Yeah. So what happens that gets you to? So one of the things that's interesting, obviously,
people listen to the show know that my business is advertising, and really I left the film industry to help small businesses. I have a passion for small. I believe that's the backbone of America, right? And certainly because the small business represents more of the middle class, blah, 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 political speak.
I was going to say,
We ran for president, still campaigning after the fact, still going.
We're not dead. We're still in that phase.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We got 4 years.
But I have a passion for it because it is the most risk you can possibly take. Like I've had corporate jobs, low risk, right? I go to work, I get a paycheck, I get to live my best life. But then there was something in me. Well, first off, I'm a failure. I can't keep a corporate job to save my life. I've been fired so many times. Seriously, like it's ridiculous. But what happens in your brain that makes you say, you know what? I'm going to go open a bike shop. And you know what? Not only a bike shop, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to open up a training center. There's got to be some drive beyond just, and it could be just like, hey man, pandemic, I just want to make some quick cash. That's cool. You can be honest, but most small businesses, it doesn't hold that way after you've been invested. So what got you there?
Yeah, it was not like that. It's I go to a brick and mortar bike shop and they're total dicks. Introverted, don't want to help you, don't know nothing about the bike because they don't ride. They can't help you at all. So you just walk in, it's sort of like going to a car lot. They just want to sell something. And I was like, man, it sucks. So I told my son, I was like, I want to do something. So I started building. And I built my first bike shop myself. And
like physically built the building kind of thing?
It's still standing today. So,
is it still the shop now?
No, I sold it with my property when I sold it and moved out to the new shop.
Yeah.
So, I built 1,100 square foot. It looked like a cabin. It looked just like a cabin in the woods. And you can actually see it on the Instagram way back. And I got it going, put trails back there, picked up my dealerships, all my wholesale accounts and everything, and started selling stuff and fixing stuff. I'd already been fixing bikes like my whole life. Like my house was the one that everybody brought junk to, and when you go behind my dad's shed, I'd steal his tools and tear them up, lose them, get big trouble, right? And I just build bikes. We built some ghetto junk, but we'd ride the hell out of it. So yeah, Stingray forks on a BMX frame. So
how many years ago did you start when you built the first one?
2018. I started building my shop.
So you're pre-pandemic for sure. So you've been in
a pandemic hit, and it was like all of a sudden everybody's like, "Do you have a bike?" And it's like, "Sure." So pandemic was like just crazy. Everybody wanted a bike.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough bikes. Nobody could.
Yeah.
And so pandemic, I won't say it hurt at all. It helped me. It just, people needed bikes, and I could get them. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, ever since then, I've been one of Intense's top dealers. So it helped put me on the map with Intense for sure. Cycle.
It's kind of an interesting thing. I know you guys maybe have heard that episode where we had that gentleman on that was talking. He did that whole documentary. I don't know if you guys have heard the documentary. It's really good. Like he interviews. Have you guys heard that doc that he did? If you have a chance, it's good. So he talks about the whole industry, and I'm blown away by it because I go back and I look at it and I look at these business decisions. Like you have a great year. I had a good year during the pandemic as well. Like I'm sorry for anybody that lost anyone, but people needed video to communicate, so it worked in well for me. People needed bikes to ride for whatever. But the reality of it was I knew this is freakish. I could tell this is the business trend doesn't show this. And I'm not a great math guy, but I'm not a dumbass. This isn't normal. And then all of it, because the whole world wasn't
normal. When there's 80 million popular votes.
Yeah, okay, all right now. But
never too late.
This wasn't normal. So for me, it was like this. But a lot of people didn't adjust, and the industry didn't adjust. And now he was talking about there's Trek dealers, or Trek itself as a company has cargo containers full of unassembled bikes that are now so out of date, because we know how the industry goes, right? But now they're so out of date, and yet Trek won't do anything with them. So my brain gets blown. Like you've got all these bikes sitting there. There's kids all over the country that could use a bike. Everyone wants to talk about inspiring the next generation, but nobody actually wants to put up or shut up. Right now, you could give those kids bikes, give them an opportunity to go ride the bikes and develop a whole new generation of riders in all kinds of areas, not just doing the whole stupid impoverished thing. I'm talking about across the country, but they won't do it. When you had the surge, what was your ability? Because you guys have obviously thrived. You've continued. Obviously, you have I'm not just talking about economic. Culturally, you've thrived because now like your brand has built more and more and more. You have a race team. You have all these other aspects. How did you guys push through that? And that's either way. I don't know. Were you there through the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, like, even when I was building a shop, before I had the shop, we always support young riders. I don't care how many bikes I've built for kids and just say, man, take it and ride it. Take it and ride it. We still do it. Every year, we still give X amount of bikes away. And our AC team, we just built them some bikes. You know, they need some stuff. So we build a community, support the community, and then just, you know, like the old movie Pay It Forward, I think it was called.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It just comes back. And just about every customer we get comes back and says, hey, man, I met this guy. He said this about you and that. And he rides your bike you gave me. I'm like, all right, cool. Or you ride something you fixed, or you did this for him. That's how I meet like everybody. So
Yeah, that's how I met you, right?
What?
You met Jody that way?
I met Jody because he fixed my bike.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You met him because your bike was broken.
I actually know people by their bike. Like, I won't know your name for nothing.
That's what he says too.
I'll be at races, and they come up to me and like, hey, Jody, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, how are you? And,
wait till I
man, you remember last year we were at this race and you did this? I'm like, what bike was it? You tell me. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're a track dude. You're a specialist guy. Yeah, you're on that crazy looking piece of junk.
Yeah.
I'll see how you finish the race. Yeah. So that's how I recognize folks.
I think that's all of us, though. I mean, I think at some point, I'm not a big I don't do that as much, but there are some riders that I know from, you know, now in our community, I try and certainly make it where it's, you know, I try and learn people's names. It's part of my business. I have to. But even then, I have to still associate it somewhere. There has to be some association for me to draw together.
Talk about the pandemic. Forget this. This is a cool story. You're talking about, so this was a customer relationship that'll be the rest of my life. I'll say his name on here, Jeremy Kessler. Amazing guy. Bought a bike from me during pandemic. I'm also a James dealer. So I'm not throwing James out there. I mean, if you want James, get it anywhere. Good bikes. So
Tallahassee.
he orders, he goes on my website, he gets the new James Renegade. It's supposed to be this amazing, good, you know, well-built gravel bike. He orders it, purchases it online. I'm actually in the process of building my house. I just got finished building a new shop where it's at now, Stockyard. And I'm building the house, living in my camper, because I was living in my camper building my new house, me and my wife, and my little girl and daughter. So I get the email, this bike has been sold, and I'm like, I got to go to the shop and, you know, get all this stuff ready. You know, we ship them all across the country. And the rules are you can't drop ship. They come to the shop, you make sure they're good, then you send them to your customer. Or a lot of times I cannibalize a bike, and all I use is the frame. Take the rest of the parts, put them in stock, and build the bike how the customer wants it. That's how this bike was anyway. And I went to the shop, couldn't get the bike. You know, it's the pandemic, right? And I was like, God, man, I cannot get this bike. So I called James. I'm like, hey, when can I get this bike? And he's like, man, everybody wants that bike. I'm like, God. So I actually called this new customer, Jeremy Kessler. And he answers like, hey, how you doing? I just ordered a bike from you. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm calling. I said, man, I can't give you an ETA on the bike. He's like, okay, well, an idea? I'm like, I can't give you an idea on the ETA of the bike. He's like, man, well, tell me about the bike. So I told him all about it, how great it was, blah, blah, blah. He goes, man, you know what? I just like talking to you. I'm cool with it. Let me know when it comes in. And I'm like, okay. This is no joke at all. 11 months later.
Holy
I
moly.
talk to this customer once a month. I call him. Jeremy, what's up? I know everything. I know this dude's life. We are friends.
Right.
We're friends to the end by now. And we talk, and when we get, and I never say nothing about the bike. It becomes just conversations like, hey, Drew, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, what's up? How's the garden growing? He's a grower up in Colorado. I'm like, how's the growing going, man? Oh, man, growing season's almost over here. Big grow. And gets done. And 20 seconds of the conversation, at the end of the conversation is, oh, yeah, your bike's not here yet. Oh, man, I ain't worried about it yet. I'm like, all right, dude, see, I'll talk to you next month. I always need something between now and then. And I think I even sorted some components between now and then, right?
Right.
For 11 months, I get an email from James. Bike shipped. ETA, blah. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I called Jeremy. I'm like in the middle of, I drop everything. I'm like, Jeremy, he's like, what's up, bro? I'm like, your bike is going to be here in 3 days. He's like, God, man, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's insane. He's like, well, I'm going to head that way. I'm like, cool. And he's a huge rider, right? He's rode tons of countries. He's a mega gravel peddler, bike packing. That's his thing. He's like, well, I'm going to start heading that way. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good idea because it's 3 days, coming from Colorado. Because he wanted, by now, we've made this relationship so strong, he's coming to see me to get it. He wants to meet. I think it's super cool.
Yeah. This is like an updated version of You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Or Sleepless in Seattle. Actually, Sleeping in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Take away this. Yeah. So anyway, he coming. I think about 3 days past. I'm like, you're not in a day now. The bike's here. Now I get it all assembled, man. I'm like, squeaky. This bike is mint, right? I'm gonna put stuff on it that I don't know nothing about riding gravel bikes, but this thing is like the pimp bike of gravel. It's ready to roll. I'm ready. So I call him like, hey man, when you think you're gonna be here? Man, it's like 11 more days. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's riding the bike.
No way.
Swear to God. He's riding the bike from he's in Arizona when I talk to him, and he is on his way to me.
No way.
Yes. So I'm like, I'm disappointed because I'm wanting to see this guy. But I'm happy. I'm like, wow, this dude is riding the bike. So long story short, he shows up, bike. I've got this, remember the big tent you guys stayed in?
Yeah.
And everything? Okay, I've got that set up behind the shop. He comes and he stays with me for 2 nights. My cat sleeps with him, loves my cat, walks the trail, talking to people. So he was a birdologist or something. He knows everything about birds in the world. He tells me that he's had this amazing conversation with my cat for 2 days, that she will no longer, he explained to her that she doesn't have to hunt birds. This man will feed you.
Wait,
You're a good cat.
that cat didn't listen because I watched it kill a bird. I watched it kill a bird while I was up
I
there.
watched it eat a bird's head off like 2 days ago. Jeremy, it didn't work, man. Anyway, we had a relationship, man. Super cool. And he gets his bike, leaves to this day. I still talk to him. So that is just amazing. It's and every customer, I'm not joking, if you come into my shop, I know you.
Yeah.
So
it is fascinating because it is one of the things that when I go back to like when I first started riding, and I'm going to parlay this into a question for Mish, but when I first started riding, there's a massive intimidation factor, right? So I've talked about this before. He was a complete asshole to me. Super douche. Not anymore, but he was back then. He was okay. I had all these cameras strapped on my bike because that's what I do. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to be a mountain bike film guy because I'd ridden, I grew up riding too, but I just wanted to be able to capture what nobody else was doing. And so I had this plan. So this guy, Todd, did you ever meet Todd Hall?
Did I meet Todd Hall?
I don't think you probably have.
What kind of bikes he got?
He had an e-bike.
S-Works e-bike.
Yeah, that's where
the guy
e-bike.
broke his neck on an e-bike.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He told you.
So Todd had a spare bike. He sold me a bike for cheap, but just like any a real enthusiast, not only did he sell me the bike, he gave me all this extra stuff. I still have the shoes. I'll never get rid of the shoes he gave me because they're
He's still alive, right?
yeah, he's good. He just can't ride anymore. Yeah. No, but he's just completely removed from all
He
of it.
don't do nothing.
He can't. He physically can't. If he moves one, if something goes wrong, it would kill him.
Oh, no, he does. He's a world class.
He's a number 3 in the world right now. Esports racer.
Yeah, the car racing simulator.
Hey.
He's
Really?
Yeah, number 3 in the world in his division for sure. But Todd's always been. I've known Todd. He's fired me a lot. I used to work for him. So anyway, long story short of it was the intimidation, and then I go to a bike shop, and I'm not throwing shade on any local bike shop here. I'm just not going to do. But it was the same thing. It was almost like talked down to, treated weirdly, that whole thing. So I ended up buying online because that's the only thing I can do at the time, and I'm in pandemic area. I hadn't met you yet. I ended up with my Gorilla Gravity. Great. It's a solid bike, but the company sucked. I mean, they just couldn't manage their way out of a wet paper bag. Yeah, they royally screwed the pooch.
Mm-hmm.
I love that bike. It's beast, and it was kitted to the nines, right? And I never told my wife how much I spent on it. And then one day I was mad because there was a paint imperfection or something, and I'm not normally one that gives a shit about that. I was like, I can't believe that for $8,500. But I stopped myself short, and she made the Mish face. Let's see that again. That's it. That's the exact face. And so then I was like, oh, well, backpedal. My point is like the intimidation factor of not only just getting out and riding was high, but then when it came time for me to upgrade, just going to a shop was brutal. And it was a whole nother thing. I bought a bike in between there. I bought another used bike in between. But even that side of it, buying a new bike and having that experience was brutal. And the reason I'm pressing this up for Mish is because there is, whether we like it or not, there is a challenge. I'm not just going to gender it, but there is a challenge. We've talked about it. We've had people talk about it on the show. There's a challenge of intimidation for women to maybe start riding with groups of dudes. I understand the logic is there. But there's also, I would say, arguably a compounded factor in that I have watched it firsthand. Someone treat Justina, who works here, went in for a tire change, talk down to that girl so much, also talk trash about us, but talk down to that girl so much that they treated her like garbage. And it's that old stereotype of like the mechanic talking to the wife and they just are ready to take advantage of it. From your experience, now that you've kind of seen the world, what is your take on that? And then tying it into the bike shop side of it. Let's throw you under the bus.
I've not experienced that, but I'll tell you one thing, it's not like that here at Jody's shop. I feel intimidated because I don't know as much as Jody. I watch him and I learn. But that's exciting to me to learn that kind of stuff, and I'd love to learn it. And I would love to have some sort of a women's mechanic class or something in the future.
Yeah.
Just to have women come and teach them if they feel that way.
What about even on the riding side? Did you run into those challenges of like the intimidation? Because you had a friend drag you into it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the gender of your friend was, but
I rode with her a lot. It was just mainly she and I. But met Jody and our little Goonies crew a couple of years back, and I just love riding with the guys. I mean, it's a different style of riding, I guess. And there's not a lot of women riders in the Wetumpka, Montgomery area, so I would love to find them. I know they're out there because I know, like you're saying, there's a lot of people laughing at.
I'm thinking the other day I go into the shop, so Misha is learning. She's like an apprentice at the shop when she's not. So anything if you're I'm not at the shop,
I'm showing the video.
she and my wife run, right? I'm not there. I try to tell Erin, that's my wife, and Misha, I'm behind this counter and back, right? On this counter, I fix the stuff, I work on it, I get dirty, nasty, I listen to music, I cuss and throw stuff behind that counter. From here up, it's y'all. Y'all are the face, right? You sell the stuff, you inventory it, you order it, blah, blah. Misha wants to learn, so when people bring in minor problems and do the women's clinic, she's planning on doing the women's clinic, so she wants to learn. And I'm like, cool. So I'll give her a wheel and say, change that tire, make it from tube to tubeless. 3 days later, it's not done, and finally I do it. No.
oh man,
she learns how to do it. So she's getting progressively well. So the XC kids, right? We are the Stockyard, not BTR. The Stockyard is sponsoring. BTR sponsoring too, but it is basically the Stockyard because we're a training center for them guys. So it's an XC team that we have for them. The Stockyard's XC team is called Getaways. So they need bikes, need work, blah, blah. We end up ordering a couple of bikes for 2 of the guys that needed bikes. We get them. I build one with her. It's hardtail, right? Nice fork, but it's a hardtail bike. Put it all together, show her how it's done. She's like, okay, that's cool. So the next day, I'm not at the shop. So she's got her list of stuff she's going to do. And on top of that list is assemble the other Jamas. There's actually a couple left in there. But assemble this one. I just want it done, right? And so I wish I've got the video. I'll show you guys in private. So she has got the bars are on the bike, right? And I'm standing, I'm right there. And I'm like, got to put together, huh? And those this is the female, no, this is a female walkover, standover bike, step through bike.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's got the gooseneck, the long stem, and the track looking handlebar from the 90s.
Yeah.
The gooseneck is pointing toward the rider, and the bars are all the way down. It looks like a turned bar, morphed, the fork's backwards, morphed, the fork is going under the bike. And I'm like, you think it's going to be a ripper? She's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, come here and just look at it. And so she's like, what? I'm like, so they told you to stand there and look at how good this look. She comes back, she looks at it, and she just starts dying laughing. I'm like, what the crap? I mean, what are you thinking? To be like, she's like, oh my God. So we squared all up. So yeah, it's really cool. Something you take for granted. And you know how to do it because you know how it looks.
Right.
Her learning, but
That's anybody though. Like if you asked me to build a bike, I couldn't do it.
It's all
So you assemble bikes at Walmart in the evening?
Yeah. I'm really good there.
I'll walk by.
exactly what it looks
Tell
like.
me, good job there.
They tell you great job.
Hey, there
Give
she
you
gets a raise.
a smiley face sticker.
Yeah.
Bike management. You're
We
literally the bike
squared it
management.
all up, man. It looked good. I was like, don't ever build a bike in my shop again.
Look, you know what I've learned though as a business owner? There are people that work for me that have core competencies, and then there are people that work for me that are dumb as shit. And what I would take is me thing. Well, I mean, he says that, but like he excels in other stuff very well. But then there's other sides of things where it's like literally, why have this person do a job I know they're not going to do? But then they smash it somewhere else. I'm like, devote the energy to smashing it over here. If, in your case, if she's selling bikes, 100% win. Does it mean more labor for Jody? 100%
Now,
does.
running the trails, anybody that rides the stockyard, if you say, hey, man, this trail is in nice condition, it's hard.
See, that's incredible. So that's another flip on that whole scenario of like we talk about. Let's talk about the stockyard, and then I want to talk about the trails as a separate piece because there's.
Hey, let me throw one last thing about the shop that I tell everybody. Everybody's always, because we ride a certain style, like we're not dedicated
It's
to
called
one.
clumsy.
Yeah, it is clumsy. We're not dedicated to one style, but when we go into your shop, it's exactly what is in there is exactly what we look for as a component stuff. It's not like we're in there and there's stuff on the wall that's like
All roadie stuff.
yeah, or stuff I would never buy. Yeah, or you know,
And
like
everybody tells me that, they're like, man, everything is stuff I want.
right.
I'm like, well, you know why? Because it's stuff I want.
Yeah, right.
So I ride like you ride.
Well, another thing is like you care about the companies that you're representing. You know, you're not just like, oh, I'm here to make $5. Like you came all the way out here to see me. I'm going to give you quality like bike fitting or bike repair or a place to ride. And then that can translate into the stockyard. And that's,
Yeah. So where does that come from? Where does the stockyard side of things come from you guys?
No, the stockyard, so Andrew Stockton is my business partner in the stockyard. He's silent, super guy, one of my closest friends. So the stockyard, I come up with that name because it was his family land that he basically donated for the stockyard. And Stockton, his last name, I played with it, stockyard, you know, having a group of people together, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's where it come from. Me and him, we prayed about it and talked about it and went back and forth. He took me out there, we looked at it, and he's like, let's do it. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
So but I mean, what is the stockyard? Because there's some people that we've tried plugged it as much as we can. Can you jump in on it? You perked up.
If people, I get that all the time. I actually have an Instagram message where they send, like, hey, I want to come out, but what is it?
Right.
And I'm like, so the stockyard is, as I tell it, and this is what I tell everybody every time, it's a place to train, it's a place to have fun, it's a place to hang out, it's a community thing. When you pull into like the members or anybody that comes, when you come in the parking lot, I want you to recognize every truck in it or every vehicle in it. I want you to say, oh, they're here, they're here, they're here. We're cool, we can have fun. It's a community. Don't bring your agenda, don't bring your Strava BS. Talking about kinging them out. You know, I'll get on my e-bike and I'll destroy it. You know, I don't even have Strava. I'll get Strava just for that. So I don't dig all the king the miles, man, I'm the best and the fastest. You suck. You know, ride, have fun, enjoy it. It's a community. No judgment. I mean, it's like I love working out and strength training, and I don't like Planet Fitness for that. But the stockyard is basically a Planet Fitness for bikes. I don't care what stockyard. I'm telling you, I've had people novice. I mean, shouldn't be riding in the stockyard, and I basically tell them, you probably shouldn't ride out here. Well, I want to. We'll go ride with them. They barely survive. We might have to carry them back to the parking lot because, you know, the XC Loop is a training loop of stuff. It's fun as heck on the e-bike. It's fun on a regular bike once you get the flow. But when you're first learning, it's a tough loop.
Yeah.
Down lines, they're just fun. And they progress from green to black. So there's a ton of down lines. If you want to come out and just have a party riding down lines, guys do it all the time. That's all they do. They have never ridden the whole XC Loop. They don't want to. And that's cool. You want to come out of the train and play on the down lines? Do that.
Yeah.
skills area, whatever you want, it's all there. So the stockyard is just, it's a community, it's a fun place, it's a serious place. It can be whatever you want it to be. And it's got the Planet Fitness attitude, like judgment free. You know, you can eat pancakes in the parking lot and you go ride your bike and not feel fat. So,
Well, I'll definitely feel. Hey, some of them climbs, it makes me feel super fat.
yeah, the climbs, you know, they suck. I mean,
But
I get on my regular bike, and for about the first 5 minutes, I'm like, wow, why am I doing this?
Right.
And then I ride it. And that, man, those 4 miles are tough. It's almost 1,000-foot elevation in 4 miles. And when you get done, you feel like somebody on a
Yeah.
regular bike.
That's
E-bike,
brutal.
you just feel like, you had fun time.
I do like to tell people when they ask me what it is, I like to say it's a training complex, because I think that when you say like bike park is a trigger word in this climate of mountain biking for some
it's
reason.
definitely not a bike.
It's not a bike park. It's a training complex. And the reason I say that more, and I try to explain it further and say, listen, the enduro lines or the down lines are short enough that and you're not going to end up on the other side of a mountain that you got to climb all the way back around. So if you want to just practice on one small session, you want to try to figure out how to do berms on this one trail, you can go back and forth on that one spot and you're not ending up and having to get shuttled all the way back up or anything like that.
And that's what we use them for.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I trained 2 kids and, doing their 2-hour clinic, and we never left like a 100-yard area.
Yeah.
Just basic jumping. So I've got that section. If I'm doing drops, if I'm doing corner and flat corners, it's all designed and built to do specific training. So, you might ride twerp and say, man, twerp's the funnest line in the world. I see it as fun, but I also see I built it for this. So I can teach you this.
Is that the one I broke my shoulder on?
No, that was good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I ducked and did not good.
Putting a sign on the
Yeah,
tree
put a sign.
with your name on it.
Yeah, it needs one, like my crippledness. I didn't. I survived.
Yeah, people say bike park. I'm like, it's not a bike.
No, and look, it's the same. We're not a bike park. I'll refer to that to my friends and family, like, hey, I'm going to the bike park. Because if I try and explain, I don't need to explain
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And I don't say the Rev because they don't know what it is. They think it's a podcast because, for being an agency, yeah, it is a cult for sure.
He was drinking Kool-Aid.
Listen, I'll be the Jim Jones of mountain bikes, baby.
I don't
Let's
know what
go.
the acronym is, but I'm sure it's gay.
It's something. It's definitely something. The how many miles of trails do you guys have?
About 4 in the cross country loop. Time altogether.
Yeah, if you tie everything together and ride it, you'll end up about 15
Yeah,
miles.
if you did all the returns,
Oh wow,
all the
That's a lot.
downlines. Yeah.
that's a lot to maintain. And just you that does the maintenance?
Me and Jody.
I do it, but he does more. I build. So I build all the features, all the jumps. Misha helps me, of course, and then she maintains it, man. I'm telling you.
So it's interesting because, like, as we've learned, because we're what we just voted in pay as you go. We're build as you go kind of group, and you figure stuff out and you innovate and figure out to make it better. And sometimes
That's the
it's
fun part.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say is, I think that the one piece that's overlooked is a lot of times guys want to talk about the builder. What's the famous guy, flow motion guy? Preston, great, good for him. Builder. You know who I'm fascinated with because I deal with it is that lady right there. Though you do some, that's doing the trail maintenance side of it, because that also tells you the real story. Because I think every trail, whether you like it or not, has a story. When you get to some part of it, whether it's Dale's broken shoulder tree or whatever it may be, is that then you're going to make an adaptation. We've done the same thing at the Rev where it hasn't just been about progression. It's been like, hey, okay, now we need to include something. So we had people afraid to hit a bike length gap. So now there's one trail that has a junior gap and then, or a baby gap, and then it grows up to where now you're hitting it.
Progressive.
Correct. But that all came from maintenance. So from your side of it, I mean, what have you learned from the start of it? Trail gets built to where you are. What have you learned over that process?
Ton. He's a patient man.
He's an impatient or patient?
Patient.
Okay, just making sure there wasn't a... Jody seems pretty chill, so I wasn't sure.
Not when she can't crank the blower.
He's so mad yesterday. Anyway, I got a crank.
I'm going to insert a riveter.
When you're on the phone and she's like, the blower won't crank. It's brand new, right? And I'm like, the only time I've ever seen it not crank is the common denominator is you, Misha. And she's like, I don't know. When she gets mad, she gets a super Batman.
Oh, the old gravel.
I don't know. I'm like, did you pump it
Should have
up?
told you
I
anything.
pumped it up. Did you? How many times? I'll pull the damn thing. I'm like, Misha, watch a YouTube video. I'm not there right now. I can't do it, and I need this strap on because I got people coming, and we're going to the rev, blah blah blah, and it's got to be ready. I'll get it. Hey, hang up. I'm like, dang it. So about 30 minutes later, I get a text. It's running. I get back to the shop. She looks like a Nigerian, like she's on a hobo train for about 30 days. I mean, dirty.
Yeah.
Just dirt. That's a lot of maintenance. Blowing that trail
You have a
is
lot of that to do.
insane when there's no rain. So, yeah, half the time when I get there, if she's doing the trail, I'm in the shop. When she walks up, I start making fun of her. My daughter,
He walks
literally,
the other way.
my
His daughter said,
walked up
"You
to her.
smell funny."
My daughter walked up there and said, "You smell funny, Miss Misha."
I'm sorry.
I get it.
So
No,
the
I get
maintenance value, hats off. I give it to her. I tell her all the time, the maintenance, building is cool. You know why? Because you walk away from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
The next year that thing's being taken care of, getting repacked, reshaped, rebuilt,
When you take
cleaning.
care of
Yeah, because a
something,
lot of real trail builders leave. You know, they build and they
They don't
leave.
come back.
They don't come
It's up
back.
to us to keep it.
Actually, you know, that might be a market for a trail maintenance company.
Yeah,
You know, like at a
Actually,
big
that's pretty
place.
genius.
that is a good idea.
That's not a bad idea at all.
No, I mean, it goes through and, you know, like, hey,
Man,
we'll come maintain.
herbicide. We spray.
Oh, yeah, they got
Andrew and I do the budget for the stockyard, and we'll talk about herbicide at the beginning of every year because we know it's coming. And we use, everybody uses herbicide, right? You know, I'm going to get people called on me.
Yeah,
It's all right. If they're eating the grass, that's a different story.
But,
Yeah.
you know, we spray.
it's a stockyard is a mountain bike park, not a cattle ranch.
Yeah,
Mountain bike training facility,
Yeah,
not a
that's
park,
my
sir.
have to.
Not a
You have to use
Yeah.
herbicide in the south.
Yeah.
It just grows so rampant. But even using an ATV, a 25-gallon propagator, we got everything we need. Backpack sprayer, we got it all. You're talking 2 days. I mean, 2 10-hour days of humping it, man, to get it done. And it's a lot of work.
You guys just need to get one of them airplanes to fly over and dump it.
And we're only 1/3 built. So we got a dual slalom course coming up. We're building it this winter. It will be the longest dual slalom course in the Southeast. It'll be a true dual slalom. Then we have all the black stuff we're building. So right now we're pure blue. Like right now you can ride everything and feel safe that you're riding a blue line. You do have black options, but after this winter you're gonna have a black area and a dual slalom area and some other lines.
Yeah, there's a pump track as well. You have a
Yeah.
pump track right outside,
Yeah,
out
I
front.
built it for kids. Adults play on it too. It's for anybody, but it's just to learn how to ride a bike. Not on the road.
Yeah.
So it's like a mountain bike hump turn course. Yeah, it's really cool. It got a big wall right at the end. Yeah, everybody loves it, and it's just to get used to turning, hitting little humps and stuff like that. It's all progressive.
It seems like it also would make a good warm-up loop, too, though, if you just need to warm up.
Yeah, so yesterday the kids I was coaching, so hey, go make me 3 laps on kudzu. It's called kudzu because it used to be a huge kudzu field. I said, go take me 3 laps on kudzu and meet me back here when your legs are warm. And that's exactly what I use it for.
Yeah.
If I'm not teaching on it, and then you get kids zoo, which is an inner loop inside of it where little kids on little bikes can go without getting too fast. So
What is where's your catchment? Where's your audience come from that comes out there? Because, I mean, or your membership and stuff.
not everywhere. I think we get a lot of people from like Florida,
Yeah,
Mississippi.
BMXers show up from Pensacola.
Yeah.
That was from this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
David Martin.
No,
Yeah, David Martin.
Aiden was one of them.
Yeah, they
David Martin.
Yeah, we had a weird group of people to show up. And, I think Florida, Mississippi,
Tennessee. We have a lot of people that.
Tennessee. So
Live on the
we're
lake.
right by the lake. My
Like
house
Lake
is
Martin?
shop.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm literally like 2 miles from Lake Martin. So everybody that's down there for the winter or the summer.
Oh, but that's a whole nother industry. I didn't know that about it because, like,
Just now we're coming over to plan to dig into that because we didn't realize it either.
dude,
But
I didn't realize.
we have no signage, and they'll just
How
pull up
close?
on their bikes and say, "Hey man, can we ride our bikes here?" And I'm like,
So consider this though. Lake Martin has a draw the entire state, right? I know tons of people from Mobile that don't go to the beach to go up. They
Montana,
come, yeah. Everybody comes out.
We have people from Montana in the shop getting their bikes fixed.
But the joy of that, though, at the same time, the opportunity is even as a destinational place. Because one of the things I was going to ask you guys about is we've talked about is like if you could go stay Airbnb a place. I could bring my family Airbnb at Lake Martin. My kids don't ride. My wife doesn't ride. They don't care about bikes. They don't even want them. What's that?
But you could play.
But I could go play, but they still can go enjoy stuff at the lake in that area.
Tons of people to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's an
People
incredible.
ride up on their bike. My family's at the lake. I wanted to ride today. I'm like, all right, cool. But we met a ton of people like that.
Yeah,
we
that's
didn't
a
even
whole
realize
market.
that was going to be something. So
Well, they're
now
also
we're plugging that in.
They're also fairly affluent from a financial standpoint. They typically, so if they have expendable cash for a vacation, they typically have other hobbies. It's a great window. That's free advertising.
Does Lake Martin have like a visitor tourism board?
Man,
Because if they did, that'd be a great way to like, hey,
we have people all the time say, hey, you need to get on this board. Hey, you need to get on this Facebook group.
yeah,
Everybody tells me, you need to put a sign up.
Right.
yeah.
I'm like, if you can't see that freaking pump track and know that you ride a bike on it,
Yeah, but I'm from the country, and everybody had dirt bike tracks in their yard, and like you just don't stop at their house and be like, "Hey, dude, can I ride?"
Yeah, I have
on your
moto
track?
guys that ride past us, and I go, looking at what we got, like, am I going to ride that?
Yeah. Oh no, where I'm from, everybody had motocross tracks in their yard, and it was like they ride them, but you don't like, hey, can I ride your track? It was always the liability thing. Was always
I've got a sign. I guess I need you guys to put it up.
I didn't realize how close it was to the lake until I got home from Jagrandi and I saw Grayson's video. He rode his dirt bike over and was like right by the water. And I don't know that lake at all.
Okay, you can be on the lake in a couple of minutes.
That's crazy.
Restaurants down there.
That explains why there's so many boats going by. When I'm like, why are there so many boats going by this
in
place?
the summertime it's boats and jet skis.
Yeah.
Because there's only one way to get to that side of the lake, and it's the road in front of my place.
Oh.
Well, what's crazy though is up until last year, I think, or this year, sorry, I don't know what year it is. This year, I think, there was only, we've gone up to taking the kids to Gatlinburg, the tourism hell of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
Fun time there. Family safe. You know what you're getting in. I love it. You know what you're getting into, and it's good. But we took the kids up. I took my bikes, met my buddy, came down, and we were going to get a ride. There was only one place to ride there that was relatively close, within 30, 45-minute drive, and it was V Hollow.
Oh, yeah.
Private bike park, gorgeous. Like, apparently it comes from Stanton Home, one of the home builders.
No, it comes from Clayton Mobile Home.
Clayton Mobile Homes, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, we know them people really good. We raced there 2 or 3 times.
Great spot.
Yeah.
It's fun. Anyway, my point is like, now they've got Ober Mountain stuff, and there's more open.
Where's the wild side place?
The wild side, so the Windrock guy, what's his name?
Aaron Gwynn?
No, the original leader. Dang it.
It's still a little bit of a drive, though, I thought, from
He
Gatlinburg.
did Ober, it's all green, Sean Leader.
Yeah.
Super guy. So he did Ober. It's all green. It's super green.
So it's all flow, right?
Yes, very flow. You can rent a bike, take your own bike. The lift is like 20 minutes. The lift. But they're putting in an espresso for her. Then they did Wild Side recently. He built that. And he went ahead and built all the green, a little bit of blue, to get people coming. And this winter he's building the black.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be a pretty sick place.
And wild side's there, right?
It is Wild Side. On the back side,
Is that what it is?
land,
It's
and
like
Ober is Ober. Ober's Ober, Wild Side, Wild Side.
Cool.
But I guess
Leader built both of them.
my point is like that they figured out that bikes were going to add to the tourism effect, and it works. It's the same way the opportunity you guys are in, being where you are near Lake Martin. And then the targeting, like if you roll into Gatlinburg, because I pay attention to stuff you guys probably don't, and I know the data side of it. When we rolled into Gatlinburg, I was inundated with ads. They got my pixel data.
Huge electronic billboard from Uber, mountain biking.
100%. And inundated with ads on and on and on, because they knew that I had look, Google, all the data companies, whether you like it or not, they got data on you. If you use a single product on the internet and you've signed a user agreement, which you have because you have an iPhone, I saw it, they have data on you, whether you like it or not. And they build a profile. And then that profile, I use this stuff all the time, lets me target them appropriately. But they're only targeting, my wife didn't get Over Mountain ads. She would get, other vacation stuff that she looked up. So if you start thinking about, when you start talking about targeting where you guys are, that's a whole nother thing. You can get them months before, and you can get them months after. And it's wild how all that stuff goes. This isn't a pitch to you. I'm just telling you this stuff for like, because I want to see you keep growing.
You keep all the ideas because I'm telling you who I am. Just like I said before, I'm the guy behind that counter working on bikes.
I get it.
I suck at everything else. That's why I work on bikes, right?
No, I get it. Focus on
the marketing. I'm horrible at it. The social media, I'm horrible at it. I admit it. What do I love? I love interacting with people who ride bikes. I love fixing their bike. I love setting them up. I love being a part of your bike.
It's an ends to a means, though, because or means to an end, whatever. The point is like if you don't have the people that show up, then you don't get to do what brings you the joy, and they don't get to experience the same joy. So a lot of people get hateful on advertising. If you think about it, all of us are affected by an ad one way or the other, and it's more a matter of like if at the end of the day, what I'm advertising connects to a good person or a good experience, then it matters. But if I'm just advertising like what we've seen with political campaigns and if I'm just sending crap, then guess what? I just sold you crap. You get crap in a box. There's Facebook. I think all of us probably have bought something off Facebook or Instagram late at night before, and then it arrives and it's made completely in China and falls apart in 5 seconds. Yeah.
I think, and Dale said it before, something unique we have that I have not learned how to plug into it. I just do it. You can show up. I love suspension, right? So a lot of what we do is suspension work. So you show up, build, tune, ride. We build the bike, we tune it, you ride it. So that's where the name comes from. So when you come in, we build whatever you want or fix or tune. We take you up the place on site to go tune you to your bike. It's specifically built for you now. And then you go ride it. And if I could find a way to market that.
We can. We'll have Todd do a testimonial for it.
Yeah, it's super tough because I don't even. Everybody that comes out, you did this for him. I know this guy. I heard you from this guy. It's never from senior advertisement. Because I don't know that advertisement.
Well, I guess the thing is though, but as a rider like me, like I am not mechanically inclined. I'm a creative and I'm electronic, right? So I have a hybrid left-right brain. Most mechanics have a little more left brain. They know how to understand the process management and all that stuff. I'm chaos over on this side, and I figure it out, right? Usually using a creative solution didn't make any sense. Zip ties.
Ends up backwards and the floor is perfect.
Booyah, me and Mish. But
y'all need to come over and build a bike together.
Yeah, no joke. We should have a build a bike class. Oh, wait a second. It's like build a bear. You can have a build a bike. Oh, now we're talking about a whole nother model. We plop that shit in the mall, and then it's shipped to you. You build it, and then you ship it.
Talking about something that comes to your house.
Yeah. And we don't question it.
Jen, I believe you sent me the wrong bike. Well, Jen's male or female name, so it's sort of both.
Yeah, we're going either way.
You can sit on it.
Did you? So one of the things I always told Dale that I thought was really fascinating about somebody who doesn't deal with shocks, that when Todd was riding, he was like my human shock whiz. Todd had a pretty good sense for doing it, but he wasn't into the spacers and he wasn't into the tech. He's also a right brain, left brain.
Not Todd.
Not the Todd. Todd Hall. Not related.
He's like laughing. He's like, wait, Todd knows
not the Todd.
Because I was saying that, and I was like, Todd is. He even said it, set and forget, and everything goes in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
That's what he told me.
No, I know.
But everything on his bike, I'm telling you, is in the middle.
Right.
He's like, that's where it belongs. No, it's not.
Well, Todd's also an engineer. He's going to take the least risky approach.
It's got 7 clicks. I'm like, yeah, it's got 7 clicks. Put it on 3.5.
Yeah.
What about your 4? 3.5. He cut his whole bike. Ask him.
Yeah.
The Todd, yeah, I'm picking on you. So his shock, every adjustment on it was middle setting. His fork, every adjustment on it, middle setting. I was like, why do you do that? He goes, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, but it's not tuned, right? So that's my point. I'm like the Todd. I'm just going to put it in the middle, set it and forget it. Ronco is what I call it. Yeah,
that's what he called it. What's the name?
Ronco. You don't remember? That was an old guy would be like, don't worry, you can set it and forget it. The whole crowd cheers up for the stupid chicken rotisserie.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, that's what we've gone with. But my thing is like being able, so I have a current problem, right? And my problem is I've shifted my riding style. I don't really care about like going downhill. I mean, I do. I love going downhill, but I'm not worried about sending it big. I don't need a bike. I don't want to be overbiked anymore. I've been overbiked for a long time. So I switched over to an Ibis. And so I'm on a Ripley aluminum frame. I don't care about carbon. I don't care about the weight. It doesn't make that. I'm not racing that much. The challenge I have those, and they've seen it, I bottom out because I still hit these jumps and I hit them and I hit bigger and further and I'm riding more aggressive than I've ever ridden by taking the bike. overbiked, I wasn't riding as much as aggressively. So I changed my riding style.
Mm-hmm.
Now I ride more aggressively because I'm performing better, because I'm training more, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My point in bringing that up to you is like, so I have a challenge, like on my bike. I'm bottoming out. I don't know how to fix it. Everyone's like, you just throw spacers. I don't even know what that means. And I'm not going to open it, because if I open it, there's a chance I'm going to kill myself 3 days later, right?
Because he can't get it back together, not because
Accurate.
it's broken.
Yeah.
Accurate. So my point in bringing that up is that alone, that feature alone, I'm somebody that would, yes, I'm going to bring my bike up. I'm going to get it tuned. I'm going to go ride the trails. But then, because of my riding style, once we have it tuned, which may be that you have different settings for me, like, hey, Drew, if you're doing downhill, I don't know how you do your process. You can talk about it another day. But then I'm going to go with Mish and be like, let's go hit that XC loop, because I'm the kind of guy that wants to do the XC loop as much as the downhill stuff.
Yeah, and your settings, they're personal.
Right.
And that's the first thing I ask. How do you want to ride?
Right.
Man, I want to pedal up the biggest hill in the world. Okay, that's all I need to hear.
Right.
You know, if you want to be miserable, I'm going to help you get there.
Yeah. That's going to be your tagline right there. I guess I just think it's fascinating what you've built, because it's so different. And I think that's why we've always talked about it. Once we got to know you as a person, you and I had a bunch of exchanges. I was like, Jody's a good dude. You can tell. You're authentic. You are who you are. And then the mayor had always talked about, sorry, that's Joey Gates. He always talked about his friend Misha. And we would always say, no offense, don't punch me from there. We would always be like, you know that Misha girl? And we learned to get it right.
Yeah. My neighbor,
Hey, he used to live in
my
a
neighbor
castle.
secretly has a crush on Misha. Mishka. Hey, Jody, is Mishka working today? And if I say no, he don't show up.
Well,
If
there
I
you
say
go.
yeah, he's like, I'll be there.
Oh, Lord. Creepers.
He likes to
This is why this is actually
he's super cool. I'm just kidding.
The secret to why she works on trails. She's like, I got to get away from here. I'm going to go hide in the woods by myself. I get it. It's a good route.
Anyway, it is unique what you guys have. It's like a totally different. I mean, and I know we can say this to you, but I can tell you from the joy that I've seen other people come back with. Just don't ever, and you don't, but don't ever take it for granted that being unique is actually the best thing in the world. The fact is, it might come with struggles and challenges, but I'm just telling you, like, as somebody, like this year, I had 62 clients. When in the retail space, that's fine. You need more.
Uh-huh.
I don't, because somebody suffered. Some of my clients suffered, just being candid, because I couldn't give them enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we've done is I've gone more the stockyard model. I'm following your path. I'm niche. Right. And it's controlled amount, and it's only this many. The fact that you guys have that uniqueness means the experience I get, the lifetime value of somebody is going to stick with it. Because not only are they going to talk about how great of a time they had, they're going to talk about the experience. I think that is what's more magical about what you guys have created, is that it's not just a sales gimmick. It's not a process. It's literally the experience of it. That alone is worth more than anything. You can't create that. So kudos, because you guys did magically capture a unicorn. That's rare, man. That is extremely rare. And that's a lifetime value thing. You're going to have people that will keep coming back out. And as far as you want to push it, I mean, just the way these guys talk. My problem is just time. I can't get to you because I don't have time.
Oh, I get it.
But the way these guys talk.
Coming here was a hard thing for me.
Right.
It's hard to leave the shop. Because right now I'm thinking, who's there? Somebody riding.
I'm an owner, and you always, owner brain never goes off,
Yeah.
right? It never goes away. And then obviously, if you have somebody that cares, that's a rarity. I mean, having an employee that gives a shit, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you've been through, but I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot of employees.
The other thing that's pretty rad about the atmosphere up there is there's a lot of dads and kids that ride together.
Mhm.
Every time I'm up there, I'm like, there's a dad with his e-bike and his kid riding. It's pretty sweet because they're teenage kids, and I know that you guys have a race team, and so like them being apart and like their dads are apart, but yet you're still like you're the coaches, right? Like you do it yourselves. Like their dads ride with them? Like
Yeah, so we got dads that they're like, hey man, when their kids out in the back riding, they're like, can my kid do some coaching with you? Because he don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Like every typical kid, right? I'm like, yeah, man, sure. So, yeah, but they ride together, but then their kids, they want to be away from their dad and they still want to learn. So their kid also would rather learn with us.
But think about what a bike represents. I've talked about this before. A bike to a kid, I think about us growing up. We all talked about it. What is a bike?
Freedom.
It's the first little bit of independence you get, first little bit of freedom. And so trust me, it frustrates me no end. My kids just refuse.
My wife has kids, man. I'm around a lot of kids, of course, the race team. But some parents bring their kid and leave them, and they ride with us or whatever, or they come with friends. As soon as that parent's gone, the same way we were a kid, and that switch flips, and they're a different kid. Not bad. They're just free.
Right.
Yeah, let's go ride. Let's go ride. And they just go have a blast. The parent shows back up.
Right. The old shifty eye.
It's like, man, we were just cutting up, having fun and riding.
Well, what's sweet is your race team up until the getaways get rolling has been an enduro base. So like if my son raced enduro and he's a teenager, we could legitimately go and race the same race.
Yeah.
As a father and son.
Yeah, Brandon and his son does.
I think that's
Logan.
that's what's awesome about it is that it's like the whole family can do it. It's not like just for kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Tyler and Ryder and Tucker, all three of them do it. Yes. And aside from that, so, broken families, right?
Mm-hmm.
On my team and other teams, I'll see like mentorship, mentee mentor.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, these two guys are just hanging because their dad don't ride or they never had anybody to ride with.
Yep.
They're older and moved out. It's really cool. These relationships just form, and all of a sudden, you get people riding together. It's like a mentor-mentee that I can think of. A younger guy and an older guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's huge.
Cool.
That's why I bring up Todd Hall so much. He's older than me by about 10, 15 years, but he was a creative mentor and then a bike mentor for me for a long time. Because a lot of times he would go ride with me when nobody else wanted to, or I was slower. I understand, but he would take the patience. He didn't care. He would just go out and do that stuff. Do you guys, in terms of the team stuff, I think it's fascinating. Obviously, I've gotten in some hot water about some things I've said in terms of the team side of things, because it's not because I don't believe in the team side. I just, sometimes the approach has been like almost, I made a joke last episode that it almost sounds like people are trying to either recruit a cult or they're vampires because they're like, well, we got to make sure the next generation. And I don't necessarily, no offense by the statement, I don't care. I approach it differently. My approach is not, I don't care about the next generation. Either do or do not. There is no try. Like, you just do what you got to do in Star Wars. But it's do your thing. However, do it to the best of your ability with people that can help you grow. That's my thing. I'm about the coaching side. I think that's the important part.
That's right.
And then the bigger push for me is I'm big into conservation, whether I grew up hunting, fishing, all that kind of stuff,
Right.
hiking stuff. And then trails is a level of conservation, because as much as I love to say I love to build trails, I also have seen firsthand, we've experienced at the Rev, if you don't know what you're doing, you're creating damage to the
It's
environment.
got to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And your watershed and all that. Oh, yeah, man.
But if you don't teach those kids that stuff, then I think there's a
Or adults.
anybody that stuff, then there's a loss that happens, because then they just,
Yeah,
they're not going to appreciate it.
the teams and stuff. Why do I have a race team? Because it's mine.
Right.
Because the bureaucratic stuff that goes on, it becomes, instead of a kid's team, it becomes a parent's team. It becomes bureaucratic. They take something as simple as riding a bike and they turn it into the most bureaucratic BS I've ever heard of in my life. It becomes all about them. Oh, yeah, and my kid rides the bike.
That's,
90% of it becomes rules, regulations, monies, fees, driving, logistics, Airbnbs, and all that stuff, arguing about courses, putting up tape. 10% might be, I hope you do good on your bike.
right.
So my team is 100% bikes, kids have fun in bikes, coaching, training. I know this sounds rude, and some people might get mad at me. This is no joke. I even tell my parents this with my younger riders. I'll see a kid ride a bike. We'll talk about getting on a team. They'll approach me or I'll approach them, either one. If they're really good, I'm going to go to them. And I say really good, I don't mean on the bike. I mean just a good kid. Just solid.
Yeah.
The kid's got good upbringing. Yes, sir. No, sir. I can see some work ethic. He's coachable. Who am I going to interview? I interview the parents. I don't even interview the kid.
Interesting.
They're like, well, our kid, I'll take Grayson, for instance. Grayson is a phenomenal rider. He's one of my guys.
Is that the kid with red hair?
No, it's Creek. Creek's another phenomenal.
That
All
kid's
my riders are phenomenal.
Yeah, you have good riders.
I'll even take Creek. Any of them. This goes for every kid I've got. I meet them. We're riding together. They're cool. I got my mind. I can work with this kid. I don't need to ride with you ever anymore. I'm going to meet your parents, because they're going to have the same fundamentals that I have. They're not, you just want to meet them, make sure they're not going to cause the drama. They're not going to be a Karen. They're not going to bring this attitude and this vibe that you don't want on the team. And I've had to let people go because of it, because I liked the kids so much. I tolerated the parents. And it got to the point where, like, you know what? I can't tolerate you. And I tell them, no longer on the team. So I'm bragging on my team and bragging on my parents of my team. The greatest people you ever meet. They are there for the bike. They're not there for any agenda except, I want my kid to do what he loves doing the best he can do it. I got some super supportive parents.
So that is I have never heard that. Now, I'll be honest with you. That's like the shift that any coach right there, that's a sales pitch. And I know you're not selling. I know you're being from the heart. We don't pre-plan this, as everybody knows. But like, that's a huge, I have like, my kids have done different things, and I can tell when the parents are just push. It's the parent pushing it, and the kid doesn't really even care, or they're not as,
And I've seen that.
I see it in the film industry.
Like, they're barely pedaling, and their dad's behind them. Boy, I said you're going to push up hard.
Right.
Go. And I'm like, dude, tell your dad to chill the hell out.
I just saw this video. It's funny you said that. I just saw this video. It was popped up. It was wrestling. It was when they were younger kids. And so it was mixed. And it was a little girl versus a little boy. In the beginning of the video, the dad stands up. He's like, get in there, crush him. And that girl smokes that kid, because wrestling is technical, right? And she wraps that guy up like a pretzel and gets a pin and wins the whole thing. And the kid's head sinks. What people don't realize is the damage you're causing to that kid by your ego getting in the way, that's going to leave, as if you're a Disney fan, you're all parents, like we've all had that scenario, but it's a core memory. Okay. And that core memory gets formed. And if it's a bad one, guess what? You're going to associate losing with the pain. Yeah. And I watch it. And then people can't realize that failure forward is the greatest thing you'll ever learn in your life.
Amazing riders, kids, man, just quit. And I know why they quit.
Yeah.
Because they'll come to me in private like, man, I used to like riding, but my dad's all over me. My mom does this. And I'm like, I get it. And they just quit. Next thing you know, they're not on a bike. They're, riding their truck up and down the road doing nothing.
Right.
No activity. And my parents, like, I'm not picking on ACA, a lot of the parents are the coaches, which I agree and don't agree with it. But I do agree riding with your kid is super cool.
Yeah.
If you're riding for the kid.
In their defense,
not riding for you.
Right.
Hey, let's go get 14 miles today because I need it.
Yeah, right.
If the kid don't want to do it, he's not. He's not going to give 100%. So what's the point in training?
Right.
But my team, they ride together. The parents ride. They ride because they love riding.
Right.
They coach because they love coaching. They don't do it because that's my kid.
Right.
They do it because they love it. And I'm not going to have we're doing it because he's good at it, and I want him to do it, and I want to do it with him, and I want him to be the best because it's going to keep me in shape, and me. And the parents need to chill.
Yeah.
Let the kid do what the kid's going to do. I rode a bike my whole life.
Yep.
All those years. My parents never, ever, there was no, let's go join a team.
Yeah.
Right. None of that. It was like, get your ass outside.
Yeah.
Don't come back till dark.
Yeah. And,
lucky if I did. And I could get on that bike, man. The little meme you see, like, gone for 10 hours, you never knew where I was. Man, I'm like 40 miles from the house.
Oh, yeah.
On a bike with a flat tire, and mom ain't got a clue where I'm at. Yeah. And I'm with people I've never met. And, I'm 11.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's.
And I make it home by dark.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, fun today? Well, my mom didn't say that. You wasn't there, right? I walk in and heat up some old Bobo freaking SpaghettiOs or something, and watch TV. My mom come home from work. Hey, see you later.
No, I get it. I just think it's fascinating just because it's the approach of like, at what point, and you've said it, and so I don't have to reiterate, but at what point is it about the parent and what point is it about the kid, encouraging them either way? My kids started out dancing. One of them loved it. All right. 2 little girls. She loved dancing. Got to a point where she no longer wanted to dance. And part of it was the coaches, or the dance instructors, whatever, but she just didn't like them. She didn't like the way that they approach things. And I get it. Coaching matters. I'm not saying be hard on it because I'm hard as nails. But there was a point where the fun left. And as soon as the fun is taken out of it and it becomes a burden, and they're kids, they're going to have burden. When if they go to college or they go to trade school or they join the workforce, they're going to have the burden of that for the rest of their life. Oh, yeah. I am not going to rob my kids of their joy just so that I can be like, they did it. Who gives a shit?
My grandson, so I've got a son and a grandson, and got 2 daughters too, but my son has a kid. He's 5. So I've made sure my grandson has had a bike since he was born. I don't push it. He's got a helmet. He's got anything he wants.
Right.
He don't know this, but he could have anything he wants biking, right?
Right.
And my son, me and my son have rode together since he could walk or he could pedal. So my grandson, I'm the dude. The bike is always at my house. It's sitting there. I don't push it, but I'm like, your time will come.
That's right.
And when it comes, I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't care how old I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there for Connor. We're going to rip it.
Yeah.
Me and his dad. And I'm just going to let it happen. I'm not going to force it.
Yeah.
Because, right now he's playing peanut or, play gay football, whatever it's called. That's super cool. He loves it. He puts on a helmet. He thinks he's Halo. And he's out there. He just has a ball, right? Let him. I don't care.
Yep.
When it's time, if it becomes time, he gets on a bike, there's one sitting there. And I don't care if he don't ride it. I'll keep upgrading the bike as he gets older. So when the time comes, he will say, Pop, let's go get that bike.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Because I've played, I was a varsity basketball coach for a long time. I've been involved in youth sports, from day one. In NICA or ACA's defense of their parents being coaches, they have to because they're the only volunteers. There's not too many people like you or that are like, I'm willing to step up and help these kids for nothing. There's not a lot. And that goes across the board with every sport, youth wise. It's always daddy ball because that's who's there to coach them. So when you get that rare opportunity to find a coach for kids that isn't a parent, it's like, first of all, can I see your background check? Are you cool? That's weird.
Yeah.
Second of all, then you're like, wow, this guy probably actually cares and knows what he's talking about. And that to me is that was what I always was thinking. I was a varsity basketball coach and I didn't have kids. So I was in my 20s looking around man, I have to be an example not only for the parents of hey, I might be young, but I know what I'm doing.
Well, you have somebody down here that's Rob is that way. Rob is a coach and a parent, and he's driven. And even as his kids age, Rob's so driven. I think Rob will stick with it.
Yeah.
Just because knowing
he's
he cares. I mean, that guy was.
Rob brought his team to the stockyard. He is driven. Rob's great.
He really cares. I mean, he
rides with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he loves to ride, though. It's clear. He takes his bike with him on jobs,
Yeah. And when he showed up with the training, we do the ACA days out in the stockyard, and he brought his team. And I can't remember the girl's name. It was a cute little dark-haired girl, had actually a BMX helmet. I can't remember the girl's name. It may be his kid. I have no clue. But she just was struggling. I see Rob bringing her back up the hill, to the little area where we hang out right there. And he's making sure she's good, make sure she's solid. Once he does that, he gets back on the bike, he goes back out. And I see him ride all day and all day. And it wasn't because Rob had an agenda. We're going to go blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He really likes riding.
Yeah.
He showed up for a night ride for the Grundy, had a ball.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rob's probably one of the few people that I would say truly does it because he loves it.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy, and we've had offline conversations about, of course, my inflammatory remarks that pissed that whole group of people off. Rob was the only one that actually wanted to have a conversation. Everybody
likes you.
That's right. Look,
if everybody likes you, you're not a coach. I promise you that as well.
Hey, you're not teaching them nothing.
You're not teaching nothing.
Yeah.
I do think the one thing that I think that youth mountain biking doesn't have to be a race.
No.
And I think that is a turnoff. My kids love mountain biking. They don't want to race. And a lot of times what I think I see when I come up to your place, I see these teenage kids, they're just riding bikes. Yeah. They're not there. They're just hanging out, doing whatever. Sometimes I think that the youth organizations get caught up in it. You ride your bike at practice. We have practice 3 days or whatever, 2 days, and then we have a race. Mm-hmm. It's can we just ride our bikes? I try to tell that with my son, go play basketball, dude. It doesn't have to be practice or a game. Go shoot. And he does. My son does a lot.
We have a training regimen, of course. So on the enduro downhill team, I've got 6 Devo guys. They're my developmental guys. They're pushing the next level, right? They're trying hard. They're amazing riders. They're freaking crazy. And so we have a training regimen. You're supposed to maintain it, right? Report in and all that stuff. When I'm talking to them, if they don't mention, oh, yeah, man, I was riding this. If they're not saying they're riding their bike on their own, they don't want to do it.
Right.
So I'm not going to be like, did you train? Did you train?
No, I have the same attitude.
I'm like, if he's going to train, he's going to train on his own. Me, if I don't want to be overweight and in horrible shape when I get older. What am I going to do?
Buy
I'm
an
going to do
e-bike.
something about it. I'm going to buy an e-bike and I want to work out, right? So, but if you call me and say you're my accountability partner, and Drew calls and he's like, "Hey, Jody, did you work out today?"
Wait, why do I have Mish's voice?
Mrs. Batman.
Mitch is the scariest voice I know, man. When it comes to
Because she's a mom. She's got the mom voice.
But yeah, it's like, you shouldn't have to ask me. I'm going to tell you. Man, I rode my bike today, man. I did this. I worked on this pre-corner. It's freaking awesome.
Yep.
That's the stuff I like. If you call me and we start talking, we talk about everything, you never mention ride that bike, you just don't want to ride it.
Right.
And I don't care. Don't. It's
not going to hurt you.
You may be a jiu-jitsu fighter that's just amazing. That's your thing.
It's the same way. Look, it's the same way with the kids. I look at it. I look at the amount of pressure my kids are under for education reasons in school because we're on scholarships or whatever else it may be for thinking about college. I understand that pressure side. So if an extracurricular is not adding value and is taking away from the things that maybe they're more, then you got to make those shifts appropriately. I'm not saying be soft on kids because that is not my approach. I'm not.
No, we're pretty tough on her.
Because it does. Like if you harden them up a little bit, it's going to give them an opportunity to deal with adversity because it's going to come at you.
The other thing is they're representative of you. Like if they're at a race and they have a big BTR shirt on, it's like, hey, you carry yourself the way I want to be carried. Like we're an organization. We're
Especially
not
if you're sponsoring.
Yeah, the integrity. Like my guys, man, we have. I give old man talks all the time to my guys because the older I get, the more I have these.
Yeah,
talks.
right.
I'm like, what's wrong with me, man? It's weird being the old guy, right? And so I have these talks, and it's be a good man on and off the bike, even if you're not on a bike. So it's about building a good. And you talk about the next generation. I don't care if they're on a bike. The next generation, what I care about, a good man, or a good woman. Have that character, have that integrity, have that trustfulness, that stand up, helping people, doing positive things. Don't be self-absorbed and entitled, thinking they ain't gonna do it for me.
Right.
Do it for them.
That's good. It's a good point. I mean, it is really at the end of the day, I think as parents, we all are, that's the only thing you can really ask for because that's all we can invest in. That's the future I can guarantee. What's the number one commodity that matters most? And to me, it used to be when I was young, it was money. I was driven and creativity. Now I realize time's the only thing that is the only commodity that matters.
And e-bike.
And e-bikes. And that is our commercial for, I'm just kidding, straight into it.
Hey, I know you got an e-bike.
Not anymore, sold it.
I'll see why y'all don't have e-bikes for training. They're so amazing.
Because it actually altered it. So I agree, but it actually changed my training regimen. So what I found is that I was not training the way I needed to. My problem is that I would get on the e-bike and I would do more. I would have fun riding. I'd ride up and down. But then when I went to go, that's
camera died.
Camera died. When I went to go swap over, I'm going to have to figure that out. When I went to go switch over to a regular analog bike, I was so used to the e-bike stuff that I would ride it with them. I would never ride the e-bike solo. So once I got rid of the e-bike and I started putting in the pedals on my analog bike solo, through the roof. Will I buy another e-bike? Yeah, eventually one day. I'll get back to it. Or for right now,
sore like today. Yesterday was leg day.
Yeah.
Which I know how leg day feels. I do it myself.
Yeah.
The next day you can ride. You can take that.
Oh no, I remember it. I got it. But that's why I bought it. But here's the other challenge: I'm not riding enough to justify the cost. My kids have never been to Disney World, and I'm sitting on a $7,000 bike that doesn't get ridden.
Oh, yeah.
I sold it for a steal. This guy got it for dirt cheap. But I sold it because I'm trying to fund Disney. So for me, it's more important. Here's a black screen, folks. It's more important for, you know what it look like.
No,
it's more important for me to do that than that. Eventually, I'll come back around. But I originally bought it for that reason, for training and riding more.
My reason I don't have one is not so philosophical. I'm poor as fuck.
Well, that gave us our hard R rating.
Well, I mean, it's true. I can't afford one.
Well, you could have bought mine.
Unless NVIDIA blows up.
I have the e-bike haters that come in the shop. I have one to come in every day. I'm in the back working on stuff, and Misha's talking to him. And I just overhear him. They're together, these two guys, upper 50s. And one of them was like, yeah, I got an e-bike, man. I'm fixing to smoke this truck. Going to have a blast. The other guy's like, I'm on a regular bike. Just dry as can be. And I don't think I'm old enough to have an e-bike. And I just lift my head up on the counter. I said, you're not old enough to have that much fun yet? He's looking at me like, I've never heard
Yeah. No, we got a guy that refuses. He absolutely refuses, says they're an abomination, has this whole attitude. I think it's the same idea of like, to me, now, there's a guy that rides with us that has it's not a Ciron, we talked about it last time, I don't remember what it is, Tifosi. It's the Timu.
Class 2 bike.
But we let him ride specifically certain things at our trail. It's a full-on motorbike, right? So like, those are e-bikes I'm not interested in on our trails. If you want to go ride dirt bikes and ride e-bikes on that side of it, on a dirt all day, and that's what he does, and he's allowed to do that because he's a member. He pays, that's what he does. But the other side of it is like the other dudes that just group that and hate on it. It's just, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
They've clearly never wanted to have fun in their entire lives, but these are also the same people that do this that I watch push their bike up a hill.
These
I'm
are
like,
the same
you
people
wieners.
that I see and hear say that don't ride in groups of new people. They ride with the same 3 guys they rode with since 1992.
Yep.
They ride lefty forks.
Are you talking about Nixon?
Nixon.
And they don't like change at all. When
Yeah.
it comes to their bike, it's set a certain way. That's how I like it.
Do these guys tend to listen to the same Clutch album from '95?
Oh, Lord. He doesn't ride a
But
left.
they're stuck in their ways. And
Yeah.
They're so close-minded in that, and it's like, and some of them are super cool guys.
Yeah.
They just, when it comes to a bike, this is it.
I would get it.
This is where God stopped
Yeah.
with bikes.
Yeah.
They never went no further.
Yeah.
When Jesus looked at the mountain bikers and said, "Hey, don't do nothing until I get back,"
Yeah.
they were like, "They're still there."
Still there. Stuck in the old pedal mode, pushing up a hill. Like,
And I push up hills. When I get on my regular bike, there's a lot of hills I push up.
sure.
But there's also, when I get on my regular bikes, I do regular bike twice a week, e-bike once or twice a week. And man, I can go to a trail I hadn't ridden in months and get on it, analog bike and a regular bike, and I will smoke that thing.
Yeah.
Because here I am at the stockyard on an e-bike pushing the dog hell out of that e-bike because it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
My heart rate's just the same, if not harder, and I'm going 10 times faster.
100%.
So when I ride this trail I hadn't ridden in 2 months, and I'm not bragging that I'm just smoking this trail, I'm making the best time I've ever made on it, and I'm on my enduro bike that weighs 40 pounds. Yeah, going to the KO.
Oh, God.
But yeah, it's just amazing. It's a killer tool, and I had to be convinced of it. I actually owned the e-bike, and I would not ride it.
Yeah.
For a year,
Yeah.
I was like, "You're riding a freaking e-bike? That's an abomination." Yeah.
I loved it. I genuinely did. It just wasn't getting there. And when I juxtaposed it against the fact that my kids haven't been to Disney World, the guilt was too much for me.
No, I get it. But it is a tool. It's a
100%.
killer tool.
100%.
And I know some fit guys that I couldn't keep up with on a motorcycle, probably. They ride e-bikes twice a week.
Oh, no, there's a guy that rides with us, Jacob Palmer, who's ripped. I mean, this guy's in great shape. He's one of the better riders in the area in terms of like being all around. Goes out to Colorado, does the whole thing. And he rides his e-bike. He uses cross training. And that's part of his training regimen. And I totally get it. If I had more time to do it.
But on an e-bike, you can maintain an aerobic heart rate for a tremendous amount of time.
Not on mine. So mine was not that way. That Trek did not have that ability. It did not have at least I'd never figured out how to do it. I can do it by just watching my monitoring, but it didn't have it where the motor would adjust to. That's what I needed. If I'm going to get on there and hit a zone 2 ride, I needed to the motor needs to keep the power in a place that keeps me in zone 2. Then I've got an argument for it all day.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started doing zone 2 training, it was like my heart rate, I would start going fast and having fun. It was like, damn it.
Yeah, back off.
And I'd back off. So I had to separate that. So when I ride, it's as hard as I want to ride. And then the rest of the time, my zone 2 training, running, walking, climbing, whatever it might be. We're running a little long, which is fine because this was a good conversation. We have 4 players in the mix. Is there anything else we wanted to touch on before we dip out?
No, I think we could save the rest for next time, I guess.
Jank Fest.
Yeah, Jank Fest is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Jank Fest. Bill Two Ryan will be at Jank Fest. I think Toby will be at Jank Fest.
Man of War Tattoo.
Man of War Tattoo's back at Jank Fest. Maybe we'll get Joseph out there for some stand-up comedy. Oh, he is?
He's committed.
Stand-up comedy.
Joseph and Katie.
Oh, delights.
Pro Cycle.
Pro Cycle's fun. Good peeps.
They'll be putting road bike tires on our mountain bikes. Joking.
I want to send it. We got to send it on. We need to do one clunker race. Just straight down tune this up. It'd be bad.
Why y'all gonna do a clunker?
That'd be so fun.
You'll have Hagen and Draper. They've done it.
Because we're poor as fuck, bro. We can't afford more than one bike.
Again, clunkers you can find on the side of the road right through Pritchard. I mean, they give them away.
Hey, you trying to get shot? We do not go to Pritchard.
Dale can though. He's got
I am. I'm a friend.
Yeah.
Bitch, I'm from Pritchard.
Bitch, I'm from Pritchard. All right, well, that's going to do. I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. That's going to do it for this episode of the Ride the Rebellion podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm not even going to do the sponsor role because this episode was clearly sponsored by Build 2 Run, although it wasn't. So for all the haters out there, you can't see me, but I'm giving you a salute. Dale? Final words? Just remember what Dale Boyd says?
Build, tune, ride for all your bike needs. I don't know. I thought you were going to throw Jody under the bus on that one.
Oh, yeah, good. That's right. That's the tradition.
Yeah.
Just remember what Jody says.
It's cream.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You